Hello, guys. Welcome to Talking and Drawing. It's me, Shane Davis, here with the beautiful, lovely, charismatic, sometimes will make me a sandwich wife of mine, Yanzi Lynn.
Hello.
And today is a day we're talking about, the red, white, and blue superheroes. Little Jordan Peterson. Why is this all? What's Jordan Peterson got to do with Captain America? Well, according to Ta-Nehisi Coates, the Red Skull. So, Jordan Peterson came to Twitter today to respond to a comic book page that makes a kind of I would a reference. I would almost said homage, but it's a reference to Jordan Peterson's book 12 Rules of Life. Now, Jordan Peterson, for people that don't know, Jordan Peterson has been kind of not really outspoken, but a couple of years ago, probably around 2016, 2015, Jordan Peterson got in hot water. Why? Because the pronoun game. And honestly, he had he was like, I'll call people a her, I'll call people a him. If they want me to call them that, that's fine. Where he had a problem was new words like Z and Zer. And he's Canadian, by the way, Canadian professor. And he ended up in a bit of hot water because the Canadian government was looking at penalizing people for this. And this is something that maybe could have been given hypothetically jail time or something. But he had a big issue with this. And if you look in his educational background, you'll understand why in social sciences. But the idea was freedom of speech and a Western culture actually starting and the government starting to rule on that. What can and cannot be said with penalties. And he had a big issue with this. And oftentimes, Jordan Peterson also has been attacked for having a lot of male readers read his book, which is arguably a self-help book or philosophy book. It depends on how you want to call it. But the 12 Rules for Life book actually was a huge seller, top seller, book tour type thing, insane amounts of book sales, and talks about everything from just clean your room, start there with your life, to being the strongest person at your father's funeral, to lobsters, believe it or not, lobsters and who's on top of the rock. And it gets into a lot of interesting things. I suggested some interesting reading, but he got attacked early on for this, for having a lot of male responding to his work. Now, the book technically could be for anybody, but a lot of men who had felt that toxic masculinity, right? That they didn't feel like they could be men anymore. So he was attacked by a lot of feminist journalists, and you can look this up on YouTube, for having a predominantly male audience, which, surprise, surprise, YouTube is full of a lot of men watching YouTube. So what's that got to do with Captain America? It absolutely should have nothing to do with Captain America, okay? But Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing Captain America, and today, I guess they felt like having the Red Skull kind of look a lot like Jordan Peterson. So in this page, we will see, do you want to read a little bit of this, Yanzi?
Yeah, the Red Skull has a website where he talks about the 10 rules for life. And we have Captain America explaining what these 10 rules basically expound. He tells them that what they have always been longing to hear, that they are secretly great, that the whole world is against them, that if they are truly men, they will fight back. And bingo, that's their purpose. That's what they live for. And that's what they will die for. I don't know about you guys, but pretty much every self-help book, every book that's considered even vaguely motivational, it pretty much tells you that you are secretly great. Isn't that the whole point of those books? You are special.
And that the world, self-help books don't shy away from the world having adversities. And I guess one of the biggest references to the Jordan Peterson that you really want to circle here is if you look at the computer monitor, you see these 10, I think they're calling it the 10 rules of Red Skull. But you'll see how there looks like, lazy lettering in the comic book page, but you see these chapter breaks, and that's kind of how Jordan Peterson set up his book with the 12 Rules of Life. So what are some of these rules on the monitor?
Actually, he made it even more obvious. He called it the 10 rules for life. Here's an order. Carl Luger's genius. The Feminist Trap. What Bismarck Knew. Barbarians at the Gate. At least that's 5 we can find. And I guess this character here is kind of like a parody of Dr. Jordan Peterson. So he responds and says, yes, all these men languishing and amid American decadence and mongrel hordes. No more. They should find their purpose as we all do, in sacrifice.
And I'm not so sure if this isn't a reference here to his daughter. Now, Jordan Peterson, the people that are relishing in this are the same people that were laughing and mocking him when he got sick recently. And his daughter had to step up to plate and take over his social media platform, which is big and vast. And she was doing a lot of videos and Instagram and keeping people up to date on his health changes. And his daughter's a little bit famous because she had some medical issues where she had to go on a strictly meat and greens diet, and he did it with her. And, so she's kind of notorious because of the diet he went on and the results for his immune system and her immune system that this diet provided. So she's kind of been in the limelight, and I can't help but think that that's a reference to his even daughter in the background because, again, she's a blonde young lady.
This is problematic. You see, aren't parents supposed to be in solidarity with their children? So he makes a sacrifice. She has to do this diet. And obviously, we're going to change the way of eating suddenly as an adult. Of course, that's very difficult to do. Solidarity, he joins it with her and say, okay, daughter, I will eat the same diet as you. This way we can keep each other in check. And people want to make fun of that.
Well, people are really just attacking him. What's really insulting here, and I'm going to talk a little comic business here. We've often in comics, somebody gets a political hair up their ass, and somebody in the comic industry, whether it's editors or whatnot, they want to just make a jab at somebody who's in the media, and they think it'll get an article. It thinks it'll get a little bit of a limelight. So they do these things time to time to try to get what they consider real world press. And what's the easiest way to get real world press? By taking somebody in the real world who's relevant and forcing into this. Now, we've seen this happen with, like, say, Trump and Lex Luthor talking about a mock-up of, the making of the deal or whatever the famous Trump book is. But the trick with the Red Skull is, guess what? If you're new to comics, Red Skull was created by Adolf Hitler. Red Skull was given the superhero serum and is Captain America's arch enemy going back from WW2. So, nobody wants to be referenced as the Red Skull. Maybe Luthor, maybe, the Joker. Sure, that's fun. Even though he's a serial killer, it's still an iconic merchandisable character. Red Skull is probably Marvel's least merchandisable character. Why, you say? Why, you ask? Why is he problematic? Because his reference to certain groups and organizations. So if Marvel is afraid to even really sell this character, keep that in mind. He's really hard to merchandise, to put in a Lego game, to put in anything because of the ties and the reference from this character and the historical value of the character. Marvel, they did kind of move him into the Hydra era of things, but Hydra is just kind of like a offshoot branding, another way to rebrand Yahtzees and sell them as action figures. But still, Red Skull still has those deep, deep ties, and nobody wants to be, referenced as a Red Skull, especially, if you're writing a self-help book. So what was Jordan Peterson's response?
Do I really live in a universe where Ta-Nehisi Coates has written a Captain America comic featuring a parody of my ideas as part of the philosophy of the arch-villain Red Skull?
And what's interesting here is you notice where Dr. Jordan Peterson actually says a parody of my ideas as part of a philosophy of the arch-villain Red Skull. Now, he didn't say a parody of me. He said a parody of my ideas, of my literature, of my book. And, I think that speaks a lot to the man's character here. Now, I'm kind of a lukewarm, take it, leave it guy with Jordan Peterson. I'm not the biggest Jordan Peterson fan. I do think he's respectable. I think he can hold an argument and debate like none other. It's very interesting to watch. I suggest somebody go look up some of the interviews where he holds his own against the worst of the feminists. But, the takeaway here is, what are comics and who's running the comic business right now? And what's the objective of the comic business? Because you're hiring someone like Ta-Nehisi Coates, who said some controversial things in the past.
He had a passage in one of his books about 9/11. So this is why he writes of the police and firefighters who died running into burning buildings in a forlorn effort to save all the people whose bodies were about to be obliterated into dust. They were not human to me. He's referring to the first responders. Black, white, or whatever. They were menaces of nature. They were the fire, the comet, the storm, which could, with no justification, shatter my body. Really? Firefighters go about shattering the bodies of black people without justification? Sure, okay, why not? They're running in there to save people. They're gonna have to grab anybody and pull them out. It's not really caring about how they carry them out. Just gotta get them out of the burning building. That's what firefighters do.
And this is a lot about the comic industry today, guys. We are hiring people. First off, it's not Marvel and it's not DC. It's all the editorial staff. It's all the editor-in-chiefs. It's all the legal, the people with the agendas that are hiring these people. And they think it's just controversial and they'll turn heads, but nobody ever thinks, is it turning heads for the wrong reasons? And this is a person that's being chosen to write Captain America at Marvel Comics. He's also being chosen to write the new Superman movie for Warner Brothers. So what are we to expect from this guy? But obviously it's very political. Obviously he's very politically charged, and obviously he's willing to throw down on a demographic. Now, instead of trying to make entertaining action comic characters and writing something fun and interesting, and maybe trying to fight for this manga audience, the My Hero Academia audience that's out there in America that's buying that and not buying Marvel Comics. Maybe that could be your direction in writing Captain America. But instead, no, you're sitting here trying to start a debate and argue with people who probably are a 30 to 45 to 55 year demographic. I mean, Jordan Peterson, or maybe young men in their 20s to some degree, I would say mid 20s, maybe early 30s. A lot of his stuff is kind of geared towards people trying to find their way in life and career. A lot of it is angled towards career and how to live your life. So it's interesting that that's the demographic that obviously is who they're trying to sell this comic book to. But at the same time, the comic industry, we're hemorrhaging. Okay, it's going down in flames. It's financially unhealthy, and our priorities are not selling fun action adventure comics, which of course characters like Captain America and even an arch villain like Red Skull were meant to be. They were meant to like punch one another, throw a shield, for God's sakes, do something fun. But instead we're using, laptops, and that the biggest high point of these pages was somebody reading something on the computer screen. This isn't going to sell to anyone. Okay, that's the sad truth of this. This is selling at anything to people, social justice warriors who are on Twitter too much. And you know what? I'm sure these pages are getting a retweet and they're getting responses, but in the end, that's not sales. They're not buying this comic to read the rest of it, because all it takes is somebody pirating this page and just putting up on Twitter and hitting retweet. And that's all these SJWs do, is they retweet and pirate. And it's funny to watch a corporation like Disney actually cater to these people and try to virtue signal and whatever, and hire almost what I would consider very controversial writers to do this with American icons. But anyways, guys, I digress. This happened today. Go check it out. Also, check out Starlight Cat's Merlion Rising. We are almost at $104,000. A couple of new backers. Thank you guys so much. And please look down below. See that subscribe button? Bam, it's there for you. Please hit subscribe. Leave me a comment. Share the video. It helps us out a lot. YouTube has been purchasing some subs, so please look down below and make sure you're still subbed. And we will catch you again with another video.